People still talk about that day in our village. Even now, when the moon is full and the wind is quiet, elders lower their voices before they tell this story. They say it is not just a story. They say it is a warning. This is what happened. Long ago, before the big road cut through our land, before electric light chased darkness from the night, there lived a man called Kola. He was a farmer and also a professional yam pounder for rich homes during big ceremonies. If you wanted smooth, soft pounded yam that could stretch like cloth, you called Kola. His arms were strong like Irako tree branches. His pestle moved fast and steady. People respected him for his skill. But Kola had one sorrow in his life. He had only one child. One son. His name was Sola. Sola was small, thin, and quiet. He followed his father everywhere. When Kola went to the farm, Sola followed. When Kola went to pound yam for people, Sola followed. The boy loved his father deeply. And Kola loved the boy too, but his love was heavy and strict, like a hand that presses too hard. Sola's mother had died during childbirth. From that day, Kola's heart became tight. He feared losing his only son. Fear followed him like a shadow, and fear slowly turned into something else: anger, control, and strange thoughts. Still, Kola worked hard so his son would never suffer. One dry season, when the dust was thick in the air and the sun was hot from morning to night, news spread through the village. The king's only daughter was getting married. It would be the biggest ceremony in many years. Cows were killed. Goats were tied. Drums were repaired. Palm wine was kept in calabashes. Every skilled person in the village was called to serve. And of course, Kola was called to pound yam for the royal feast. It was an honor. The king sent his messengers early in the morning. They came with red caps and staffs. "Kola," they said, "the king needs your hands. You must prepare the yam for the wedding. No other man can do it like you." Kola bowed low. "Tell the king I will not fail him." Sola jumped with joy when he heard the news. He loved festivals. He loved drums and dancing and food. "Father," he said, "I will follow you to the palace today." Kola looked at him for a long time. Something passed through his eyes like a cloud. "Yes," he said, "you will come with me." The boy smiled, not knowing what was waiting on that path. At the palace, the compound was full. Women sliced vegetables. Men roasted meat. Drummers tested their talking drums. The smell of spice and fire filled the air. 2 large mortars were brought out. Huge ones, used only for royal events. The yams were already boiled and peeled, stacked like white logs beside the mortars. Kola tied his wrapper tight. He tested the weight of the pestle with one hand. Sola stood near him, watching with bright eyes. "Father," the boy said, "one day I will also pound yam like you." Kola did not answer. He lifted the pestle and began. The sound rang through the palace like thunder. The yam inside the mortar began to change, soft and smooth with every strike. People stopped to watch. They nodded in approval. "This man is a master," someone said. Kola pounded without rest. Sweat ran down his face. His chest rose and fell with heavy breath. Then something strange happened. Kola began to remember old words. Words his late wife had once said in fever on the night she died. "Kola," she had whispered, "guard this child well. Some gifts demand great prices." At that time, he had not understood her. But that day, as the pestle rose and fell, those words returned to his mind again and again. Some gifts demand great prices. Kola felt a shaking in his chest. He had always been blessed in his work. Too blessed. No matter the season, people called him. No matter the hardship, his hands never failed. Others struggled, but he never did. What if his gift needed payment? What if the spirits had been waiting? The thought entered his mind like a snake. And instead of pushing it away, he held it. As the yam grew smoother, Kola's mind went darker. He remembered how other men had lost their children to sickness. How some had buried 2, 3. Yet his own son had never fallen seriously ill. He remembered how his farm always did well, even when others failed. Fear wrapped around his heart. What if the spirits come for him by force? He thought. What if they take him in a worse way? Kola's hands began to shake. Sola was still standing near him, clapping softly with joy. Father, you are strong, the boy said. Those words landed in Kola's ear like a knife. Strong enough to do what others cannot. Strong enough to give what others cannot give. Suddenly, a terrible thought took full shape in his mind. If I give him myself, Kola thought, the spirits will be satisfied. They will not take him through sickness or accident. He will leave quickly. And I will continue to prosper. I will not lose everything. Madness mixed with fear. And fear defeated love. Kola looked around. No one was watching him closely. People were busy with their own work. The drummers were playing loudly. The women were laughing. Smoke rose from many fires. Kola called out softly, Sola? Yes, father, the boy answered and walked closer. Come and stand here, Kola said, pointing to the edge of the mortar. Let me show you how to turn the yam well. Sola did not suspect anything. He stepped closer, peeping into the deep mortar with curiosity. Kola raised the heavy pestle high in the air. His heart beat like a drum inside his chest. For a short moment, a voice inside him screamed, Stop. This is your son. Your only son. But another voice answered louder, If not now, it will be worse later. His hands came down. The sound that followed was not the sound of yam. It was a dull, sickening sound. The kind of sound that does not belong in the world of the living. For one blink of an eye, no one understood what had happened. Then Sola's cry tore through the air. A sharp, broken sound. Then silence. The pestle stood inside the mortar. Kola stood frozen. Blood began to flow over the white yam like red palm oil. Someone screamed, Blood! Another person shouted, It is a child. The drummers stopped. The women dropped their knives. Smoke still rose, but the compound became cold. Kola slowly dropped the pestle. Inside the mortar was not only yam anymore. It was yam and flesh. Yam and bones. Yam and the broken body of his only son. Chaos broke out. Women wailed. Men shouted. Some tried to pull Kola away. Others rushed toward the mortar in horror. Sola was already gone. The boy who followed his father everywhere. The boy who dreamed of pounding yam one day. Gone. Kola did not run. He did not cry. He simply sat down on the ground, staring at his blood-covered hands. The king came out when he heard the noise. When he saw what had happened, his legs shook. He held onto a pillar to stop himself from falling. What have you done? The king asked. Kola slowly lifted his head. I paid the price, he said in a weak voice. Everyone stared at him. What price? The king demanded. Kola laughed. A dry, empty laugh. The price for my gift, he answered. The king stepped back. This was not a normal man speaking. It was a broken one. Kola was seized that same day. Some wanted to kill him immediately. They said such a man should not walk on the same earth as others. But the king stopped them. No, he said. Let him live and suffer. Kola was taken to a dark hut at the edge of the village. Heavy chains were placed on his hands and feet. He was fed like a prisoner. No music. No laughter. No visitors. The wedding was cancelled. The village fell into mourning. They buried Sola behind his mother's grave. A small mound of earth for a boy who never had time to grow. At the burial, Kola was not allowed to come out. But he heard the crying. He heard the drums of sorrow. He heard his village moving on without him. And for the first time, he began to understand what he had done. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Kola's strength began to leave him. His big arms became thin. His eyes lost their fire. At night, he began to see Sola. The boy would stand at the door of the hut, the way he used to wait for him in real life. Father, Sola would say, you promised to teach me. Kola would scream and beg for forgiveness. But the boy would only look at him and fade away. Food lost taste. Sleep ran from him. Even the guards feared to stay near his hut at night. They said strange sounds came from inside, crying, talking, and the steady sound of a pestle hitting a mortar. 1 year after the incident, the king sent for the oldest priest in the land. The priest listened to the story and shook his head. This man was fooled by fear, the priest said. No spirit asked for his child. His own mind became his enemy. Can the boy return? The king asked. The priest was silent for a long time. No, he said finally. But the truth must be spoken to the father, so his suffering will not continue in darkness. They brought Kola out of the hut. He looked like an old man now. His hair had turned white. His body trembled. The priest stood before him. Kola, he said gently, no spirit took your child. No power asked for him. You killed your son with your own fear. Kola's mouth opened. Nothing came out. You were not chosen for any sacrifice, the priest continued. You only chose to believe your fear. Those words broke what was left of Kola's heart. He fell face down on the ground. And for the first time since that terrible day, he truly wept. Not from fear, but from regret. 3 nights after that, Kola died in his hut. Some said his heart finally stopped from sorrow. Others said Sola came for him in the night and led him away. No one knows for sure. They buried Kola far from the village, near the bush path. No ceremony. No drums. Only silence. From that day on, no one ever used those 2 large royal mortars again. They said the mortars had tasted innocent blood. And blood remembers. Till today, when a father becomes too afraid of losing his child, the elders warn him. Do not let fear become your God, they say. When a man begins to think his gift is greater than his love, they remind him. Remember the man who pounded his only son alive. And when children pass the old bush path at night, they run. Because some say that if you listen closely, you can still hear 2 sounds moving together in the darkness. The soft voice of a boy calling, "Father!" and the slow, endless sound of a pestle striking a mortar.